He was born on the 4th of July. He served as a civilian in the Defense Department during the Iraq War, traveling to Baghdad 14 times. He regularly appears on Newsmax TV. His columns appear in the Washington Examiner and on Newsmax.com. He's been featured in front-page stories in the Chicago Tribune and the Daily Herald. The Wall Street Journal has called him the Mystery Man. But this is where the mystery ends. America is now engaged in a culture war, and he's ready to battle to defend you and your rights. Because like you, he loves America. He's Mark Vargas, and this is Mark My Words with Mark Vargas on AM 560, The Answer.
Welcome back to Mark My Words on AM 560, The Answer. I am your host, Mark Vargas. But coming up here in a minute or so, we're going to have Illinois candidate for governor Gary Rabine. But I just wanted to talk very briefly. This week, we learned that of an indictment against Madigan's chief of staff, Tim Mapes. And so what does that mean? Well, I think that means that Madigan is next. Why? Not only did they go after his close ally and confidant, Michael McLean, but now they've got his longtime chief of staff, Tim Mapes, and they're going to be under enormous pressure. And they're going to have to decide, am I going to defend my boss, or am I going to stand up for my family and do what's right? And at the end of the day, we know that they are going to protect themselves. And so, we're hearing all this talk about anti-corruption legislation. Well, here's my point. If you're serious about anti-corruption legislation, then let's make Illinois legislating a full-time job. A lot of people don't realize that legislating is actually a part-time job and that they all have full-time jobs. And so let's make it full-time. And secondly, stop hiding behind these titles as strategist, advisor, community engagement. We all know what that means. That means that they're doing lobbying or government affairs. I believe it was like in 2014 or 2015, the Senate Republican leader Collerton won like lobbying or government lobbyist of the year for 2014, 2015. And so, it's all window dressing. It makes for good press bumps when you've got legislators talking about we need anti-corruption legislation and we're serious about this, but yet they aren't really addressing the issue. A lot of these legislators are lawyers, and they're profiting off of their positions as a legislator. They're doing business with other businesses that are doing business with the state. They've got their tax firms. They've got all sorts of government relations positions that they're doing. And so, I just think that it can be laughable when you've got these legislators talking about anti-corruption. I think it's time for Republicans to stand up and I think hold the Democrats accountable. I encourage the Republican candidates for governor to make this a point, make this an issue. I think we've got Gary Rabine on the phone. Gary, I just had to pontificate for a few minutes on this anti-corruption case and Mike Madigan, but welcome to Mark My Words on AM 560, The Answer. How are you, Gary?
Mark, I'm doing great. How are you today? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem at all. Listen, this is a new segment that I've got on the trail where we're going to be talking with our candidates for governor, and so I appreciate you taking time off of the campaign trail to talk to us. I just want, just ask you a couple of questions, and it's, first of all, who is Gary Rabine? Tell us about the early days.
Hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I love being an entrepreneur. I started my first business out of high school, paving driveways in northern Illinois. That became a commercial paving company that grew across the country. And today we operate 11 companies in Illinois. And the Rabine group of companies, we're in facility services. So we do parking lots still today, concrete and asphalt everywhere here and across the country. We also do roofing maintenance and doors and docks. We have a couple of technology companies in the facilities industry. So all serving pretty much facilities and utility industry. So built these businesses here in Illinois. We do have one in Dallas and one in Maryland also. But, Illinois is our home. This is where we want to continue to build our businesses, and we want to stay here. And I'm going to work hard so that people like our jobs and our employees want to stay here to build their families. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
You're a businessman, and obviously you have a handful of very, very successful companies here in Illinois. But what point did you say, forget this, I'm going to get into politics? Was there a defining moment where you said, I need to get off the bench and serve our state in this capacity?
It's been building for a while. I never aspired to be a governor of our state. I really love doing what I do, is building businesses. But I've been following politics for a long time, and I joined a bunch of national organizations to understand the best states to work in. So I got to be pretty close to a lot of people that really write law and really are leaders of tax in their state and all that, so that I could figure out what states we want to do our work in, and what states we might want to grow in the future. So with that, I ended up joining more recently 5 years ago the Republican Governor Association. Got to understand what these governors are. And actually, was on the executive council, and I am still. And so I really got to understand what these governors are doing to bring jobs to their states. And boy, when I saw what's going on from 5 years ago to today, and even 15 years ago, when I look at the taxation and regulation that has gone on over the course of this time, I saw Illinois really fall apart. And so I was so bothered by it when I see the good things that these governors are doing in Texas and Florida, Tennessee, Indiana. I mean, they're just kicking our butts. So when I look at my grandkids, my kids and my grandkids, and more recently as I've had grandkids the last 4 or 5 years, I want them to grow up in the same state I did, where I was blessed to be able to build these businesses and have this awesome environment that is Illinois. And boy, I can't tell my kids and my grandkids this is where I want them to stay if we have no common sense in taxation, no common sense in regulation, no common sense in education and policing, right? So I've gotten really more and more fired up over the last couple of years, and about probably 8 months ago, I decided I was going to look at it, and now it's 2 months ago.
Well, your campaign slogan is paving the way to stay, sort of a play on words with your paving company. I think it's really clever. What makes your candidacy here different from the rest of the other candidates here on the field running for governor?
That's a great question, Mark. I've been differentiating all my life. To be good in business, you better differentiate. You better deliver a better value proposition than your competition. And that's the way we've been able to grow businesses from startups to very competitive businesses. And so with this governor's race, I don't believe there's anybody that's going to have the experience I have when it comes to building jobs, understanding job creation, understanding how nationally the competitive market in the country when it comes to taxation, regulation. And I think these are my strengths. And as an entrepreneur, I've always strived to find the best minds in the world to be on my team or to coach me, to be mentored by. And I really believe that collaboration is the key to success, collaboration with great minds, and realizing what you're good at, what you're not good at. And this governor, in my opinion, has done a lousy job collaborating with anybody, even people of the same of the same party. When I look at what happened with COVID and the lack of collaboration with governors across the country was crazy. I mean, why would you not talk to other governors leading states having similar problems? This guy didn't do that. I don't think he collaborated with his 177 legislators. So I mean, for me, I just see that that this is not the leadership that I want to lead my state, and I'm confident that I can lead because I understand what I'm good at and what I'm not good at.
I'm Mark Vargas, and this is Mark My Words on AM 560, The Answer, and we're talking with Illinois governor candidate Gary Rabine. Gary, you had a rally for Christ today in St. Charles. Sort of, what was the genesis of that event, and how did it go today?
I was invited by a good friend of mine, Tom Meredith, to be there, and I don't turn Tom down. He's a great friend of mine and a really, really great person. And what a great place to be. Rally for Christ is just just talk about your walk with Christ and all that. And so for me, my wife is a huge part of my life, and really made me who I am when it comes to my faith journey. And so, my talk was about the blessings I've had in my life, and really focused on my wife and the great things she did for me and others. And that was my focus. It was not a normal stump speech, that's for sure, but definitely got me to cry a little bit, because I had to talk about my wife who passed away about 7 months ago.
Yeah, no, that was it's tough. And what did she, in the conversations that you had with her, did she give you the green light to run for governor?
She did, actually. About a year before she passed away, I told her I was thinking about it, and then probably 6 months before she passed away, 5-6 months before she passed away, I told her I was definitely looking at doing it, and really thought I was going to do it. And she said, she really had all the confidence in me that if I focus on doing anything, I'm going to do it well. And so I had, her 100%, confidence that she's behind me. So now she's above me, looking down, and really, in my opinion, she's got my back, and it's going to be a lot easier with my angel on my side.
We're talking with Gary Rabine, Republican candidate for governor. We're going to keep you on for the next segment. You're listening to Mark My Words on AM 560, The Answer. Welcome back to Mark My Words on AM 560, The Answer. I am your host, Mark Vargas. And coming up on the next segment, coming up in a few seconds, I'll be taking your calls. So get ready, 312-642-5600. But until then, we are on the phone with Republican candidate for governor, Gary Rabine, who's on the campaign trail as we speak. Gary, Republicans generally win about 56 out of the 102 counties in Illinois and have still lost the governor's mansion. How do you plan on winning over these typically Democratic-controlled counties, particularly around Chicago?
Yeah, that's a question that's asked often, and I'm traveling all over the place, and the heart of Chicago, the suburbs of Chicago, and all downstate in Springfield and Quincy, Illinois, all over the place, right? And the message, when I ask people what's keeping them up at night, it changes a little bit. But even the south side of Chicago, I mean, their taxes are a big deal. Property taxes are killing the values of properties there. And in some places around Chicago area, property taxes are 10% of the value of the homes. Downstate, might be 2.5% of the value. Northern suburbs could be 3.5%, and 4%. I'm in a place right now, a friend of mine's place today. They're 4.5% of the value. So $300,000 house, you're paying like $13,500 a year in property tax, right? I mean, that's unsustainable. People are not going to continue to put up with that. They're going to be leaving, selling their houses for losses. So property tax is a huge thing for everybody I talk to. I don't care where you're at. Job creation, I think, is a big deal. They're not feeling it as much with all the free money out there. But when the free money stops, the limited job creation we have in Illinois compared to what we should have is going to be a big problem. And that's the other. I can feel that with the people that are paying attention to that. And also we're feeling these law enforcement bills are being passed are crazy. People are really worried about that, worried about the safety of their kids, their neighborhoods, and then of course the school, these schools, the bills for the school, and this crazy bill that Pritzker is going to be looking at. Hopefully he vetoes it. That starts sex education in kindergarten. Right? I mean, it's crazy stuff that I'm seeing today. So there's all types of concerns, and there you go. But those things are probably top of the list.
It is this sex education curriculum. I'm not even sure that I'm allowed to even say these words on air. And yet they're going to be teaching these terms and phrases to children, kindergartners, elementary school students. It's just unbelievable. Gary, we touched on this just a little bit in the last segment, but what role does faith play in your life? And particularly as you're on this campaign trail, it's exhausting. You're away from home constantly, and we just had Andrew Giuliani on, candidate for governor of New York, earlier in the show. And so I just wanted to ask you, what role does faith play for you in your life?
Well, faith is first and foremost for me. It's the most important thing. God's the most important thing in our lives, my family's life, and we like to live by the values of what our faith teaches us. And if we do that, you know what? We're probably servant-minded. We're servant-minded people. We love serving others. In our businesses, it works out well. In government, it should too, right? I believe that for us to survive in business, our faith is really plays well. If our customers know that we love them, and we want to serve them, our teammates in our business know we love them, and we're there to serve them, right? I mean, we build great companies with great people that love our products and love working with us, right? And I believe in government, we're not seeing that. Our government does, I believe if government thought about serving and not being served, if government leaders, I should say, felt that they should be there to serve others and not be served, you'd see a lot different environment. I mean, I don't see many people there. And I'm not saying there's not some, because there are, right? But there's just not enough, in my opinion, servant leaders that are in government. And I can guarantee that's who I am. I'm not in this for the job, the money. I'm in to serve, and I want to create the environment where my kids, my grandson Lincoln, wants to be in Illinois in the rest of his life, and that's my goal.
I'm Mark Vargas, and this is Mark My Words on AM 560, and we're talking with Republican candidate for governor Gary Rabine. Gary, you hit an excellent point, because it really is about service versus serve us, and at some point it becomes about serve us, and we're seeing sort of that corruption play out in Springfield in real time. What would the first day of a Gary Rabine administration look like?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, we'd focus on bringing people that and we'd probably focus on that a little before. But by the time we're ready to take office, we're going to be bringing in top talent from across the state as well as across the country. What I'm very strong and I've been blessed to do is find the best minds I can in anything I do. I'm a very strong networking guy. I love people, so I have a lot of friends. And so, economics of our state are in dire need of some great minds. And I guarantee the minds I bring in on economics will be the best in the country. And some of the best minds our country's seen over the last 50 years will be on my team. And they're already working for me now, and they will work for me when I win. And so I think economics is a big deal. If we can fiscally get our house in order, other things end up working out. And I think that it takes minds that have seen states all over the country as well as countries to understand what turnaround government looks like. And we don't have any of those in Illinois, in my opinion, right now that are working in our government. That's the first thing I want to do is bring in the best economic minds in the country to really look at a plan and work with these legislators and on what we can do to turn this fiscal fire, put this fiscal fire out, I should say.
You're meeting on the campaign trail, just traveling up and down the state, and I've campaigned in all 102 counties, by the way. I was a body man for Steve Rauschenberger, State Senator Rauschenberger, when he ran for governor in 2005, and I was a body man for Ron Gidwitz. And so I've traveled the state, and I know how exhausting it can be, but you're meeting so many people. Is there a story or two from a constituent, from an Illinois resident that has really stuck with you?
Well, yeah, I'm seeing them every day, Mark. I was with somebody last night, a couple that were farmers, and they're down a few hours south of the city, close to the Indiana border, and boy, they're getting killed with everything. They're when they look at their property tax, they can't believe what their friends across the board in Indiana are paying for property tax. When it comes to finding help, they can't believe that they can't find help, and a couple hours east of them, they're finding all the help they want. When it comes to so many issues, their family members, they had 8 kids, and 4 of them that are adults, and 2 of them have already moved out of the state. The other 2 are considering. Right? I mean, this is what I'm hearing over and over again. And this is a hardworking farming family that's been here for generations. Right? So I'm hearing that over and over again. I had a young man come up to me today and said, Mr. Rabine, I wanted to leave the state. He was 22 or 3 okay. I wanted to leave the state and go find a job somewhere else. But after hearing your story, understanding who you are, my family and I are staying. I'm staying, and my family now wants to stay and see what happens and watch. If you win, we're staying, right? And that's awesome to hear that people are having some confidence that if you get this guy out, that we can have a place where people want to stay, and that's why my slogan's paving the way to stay. But it's kind of crazy because I'm hearing that over and over again. People are saying, "Hey, I don't know if I'm gonna leave next year, the year after, but I'm gonna watch and see what happens anyway. If you can win, Gary, then you give us hope, and I think hope's the big thing."
No, there is. I think people have lost that hope under Governor Pritzker's leadership or lack thereof, and they're really hurting with high unemployment numbers. Gary, we've got about 30 seconds left, but the question that I have, the final last question, if you were not the GOP nominee, would you support that nominee, and would you go out and campaign for them?
100%. I've said this over and over on the trail, and I don't care who wins on the Republican side. We need to band together and help each other out. Bring our resources together, whatever resources we've compiled. Bring our teams together and support whoever wins. And I've said, I'm doing an oath. I said this many times to these other guys running, and that I will be behind anybody that wins. If it's not me, I plan on it being me. But you know what? We better be behind the winner. We got to quit breaking up this party of ours, because we can't win if we're two different parties within one, especially in Illinois.
That's right. Well, Gary, thanks for calling in and appreciate it. We're talking to Gary Rabine, candidate for governor. You're listening to Mark My Words on AM 560, The Answer.
Thank you, Mark.